Damn, it's raining outside.
Yeah, I could hear it.
Face the death. Look him in the eye. You can't turn back once you come this far into the darkness.
If you would like to have your questions answered by Derek or anyone else in the future, you know where to go. Reaper tells you every damn time. ReaperMetalProductions.com. Become a fan club member. It's way cooler than any other fan club because we actually give you shit and you ain't just paying to watch something. So we got some Patreon questions from our Reaper Metal fan club. And here they come.
Here they are.
So this is from Jeffrey Friedler. He doesn't really have a question for you, but he wanted to let you know that he really misses being on your drum forum.
Yeah, then it got hijacked, and then somebody ended up with my old domain, thedirtroddy.com. It's some like Chinese company ended up with it or something.
Yeah, that happened to one of my friends. It's so ridiculous. And then to get it back's like impossible.
I have another website. It's DerekRoddyLive.com.
Okay.
And I have, merchandise up there, all of the Serpents stuff, most everything that I've done, and I'm in the process of updating more stuff on it. Actually, I have that on my list of things to do this week.
Cool.
To get that finished. So DerekRoddyLive.com is my new site, and I'm thinking about putting a forum up there, but they don't get a lot of traffic, man. Like, forums are dead. I mean,
well, you might get your guys back on there though. Dinkins. Now we kind of covered this, and I'll kind of let you. You don't have to say anything, or we can leave it to the interview, or if you want to make a quick comment. He asked why you left Hate Eternal.
I had run my course in that band. My time had. We did what we could do with the ingredients that we had, and I just felt like there were no more ingredients coming in to make the soup any better, and I just got tired of eating it.
Dinkins has a part two to his question, which was, what was the experience working with Eric Rutan, and maybe I'll further that in saying let's focus on the positive, and what was the experience at the beginning, when first coming in fresh?
I mean, playing was all positive.
Yeah.
Playing was all, and I've even told people before, like, if Eric ever wanted to do something again, I would be really game for it. I'm just not going to be in his band.
Right.
I'll never do Hate Eternal again, but if Eric wanted to do something in the future, if he ever wanted to put something together or had some songs that he thought that my drumming would work well in, I'd totally be down for doing it. I'm just not going to be in his band.
Sure.
That's a different thing than, like, some people just don't know how to be in bands with people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like what that actually means.
Right.
So.
Okay. We have Jan Rademacher. I am a big Watchtower fan. He's asking about the Blotted Science thing, which again we covered that pretty much in depth. But I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read his whole question. There's a lot here. Did he feel like a drum computer of flesh and blood? Was this Rademacher from Germany? Raidmaker. I bet Ron Jarzombek has exact drum pattern in his mind. And there was not much space for putting in your own flavor, which he pretty much nailed with this question. Was that the reason you didn't do Blotted Science? Did you ever jam in a room, or is it just sending files?
It just got to the point where if you want me to reproduce your drum machine parts, then you need to pay me for that, and he just wasn't willing to do that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Jan has a little bit more, and this is more focused on Nile. I met the Nile guys on the first European tour and experienced the first lineup on and off stage as great musicians and great people. Chief was a great guy, and I never read anything why he left the band. I know Pete had problems with his back, as I wrote some letters back and forth with him when he was getting the Ramses Bringer of War CD, I guess. He was communicating with him. He was a really unique drummer, and I thought he was really important for the Nile sound. How did you, and you said all these things, how did you experience, how was your experience, knowing Chief and Pete, and kind of, the experience recording Black Seeds, which we talked about. So yeah, he just kind of wanted to know a little about your relationship with those two guys.
Those guys started way before that, as we talked about. I knew them from back in, before the demo even days, before their first Nile release. And Pete and I became friends, and I feel the same way. I thought Pete was very unique and characteristic of a lot of their sound, at least initially.
For sure.
Chief, great guy. Chief is an example of somebody who just moved on in life.
Yeah.
Right? There was really no reason. There was just an admirable departure, like, okay, I need to go do this now, and that's fine. It's just people just grow apart, so
Sure.
it happens. Or I know Craig's had Scott Burns on or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
we've had
that
him
was
on,
a fun
yeah.
experience recording with him.
So what was that like for you now, being in a kind of this renowned studio, especially with metal recordings and working with Mr. Burns himself? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Super easy.
Yeah.
Scott kind of tricked us. So Steve Harrison was the engineer for Mass Suck. He got the kit mic'd and started pulling tones together. And then Scott came in, and he like at that time he was working a day job, like a data something.
Okay.
I don't remember. And so he came in, and we started messing around. He put the tape on reels. He said, "Look, man, like, you guys, if you want to just warm up, and let's get some tones together. You guys play a little bit so we can get a vibe. You guys can get a vibe, and then we can come in fresh and start in the morning."
Cool.
Okay, perfect. So Phil is in the room with me, but his room is, amps in another isolated room.
Sure.
So there's no bleed or whatever. We're jamming, and we run through the songs basically like we would just rehearse them. I don't know why we ended up playing like all of the songs. And,
Okay.
And Scott was like, "Hey guys, can you come in here?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he sat us down and he says, "I think we captured the drums. You guys want to listen back to this?"
Wow.
So we literally listened back to it and was like, "Holy shit, yeah, everything sounds good. We just need to do a couple of things."
Wow.
And I guess by then, word had leaked out around Tampa. So we went back in to retrack like a couple of things, or the couple songs that we didn't do. Scott had to change tape out
Okay.
because those tapes are only like 20 minutes or so, So we
right.
had to change the tape out. And we started up again. So I was like, "Phil, what songs didn't we play?" I think we did In Cold Blood, Seizure, and Millions, I think, which were some of the faster ones, or maybe Preyed Upon, I don't remember.
Okay.
Actually, it was Preyed Upon because I have a specific memory. There's a part in that song where it's like and it's like this bomb blast, but the cymbals are like and it's switching hands
Okay.
like this,
Yep.
and I'm fucking going for it, man, like, record because the headphones sounded so good, and I was playing an AOT kit at the time that sounded
nice.
amazing.
Yeah, those sound nice.
And yeah, so everything was like,
maple?
and it was just sounded so good. And I remember looking up during that part, and the window I was set up sideways, parallel to the window.
Okay.
And both Scott and Steve were leaning over the console, like. I never will forget that as long as I live. And Gus Rios, another drummer friend of mine, he
Yeah, we
was
know
there
Gus.
when we recorded that. I took him with me
Okay.
because he wanted to go. He's like, "Man, I've never been in Morrison. I'd like to go over there or whatever." So
Nice.
he's got like a better memory about it because he was actually in the control room, like listening to these guys when we were recording or whatever. But yeah, we did it like the first night there.
Wow.
It was done.
That's
I
amazing.
think probably 3 hours maybe. Track that record.
Wow.
Something like that.
Crazy. All right.
Yeah, and most of those songs are first takes. The very last song, what is it? Seizure?
Yeah, I could tell you. I got it with me. Yep.
No,
Seizure.
sorry. The first song.
Nocturnal Overlord. Yeah.
There's a section in there that has a gravity blast.
Oh. That would have been one of the first
And-
recorded.
Yeah, maybe.
I would imagine.
But it happened by accident. Yeah, and if you listen really close, right when it comes in, it's right before it's like that long, after the slow part, and it speeds up,
Okay.
and then there's that long scream, and then the double bass is under it, and the snare is there too. But if you listen, you can hear a drumstick fall in between everything, clink, 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 clink.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
And what had happened is I had come out of that roll, dropped the stick, and just naturally did this until I grabbed another stick, and then it goes into a single hand. So
Whoa.
it's like half of it, and then stick,
Crazy.
then it's the roll, and then into the bomb blast again. And it happened like a split second, like a car accident.
Right.
Like everything slows down and you're like, whoa.
Matrix.
And Scott loved that so much. He was like, dude, the vibe of that, bro. He's like, y'all got to keep that. That is so killer. So we ended up keeping.
But like you added some great, like even I don't even know what song it is. Maybe the title track. The where you come in with the flams on the toms and stuff. It just sounds so big and heavy and sounds awesome. So I thought it was a killer record. And then I guess you went on the road with them for a while afterwards, supporting.
No, we did. Before we recorded that, we did a few shows in Texas, and never got to do anything live with them. I mean, there's just I don't have to tell you anything about Malevolent, but it was just so much chaos going on.
Sure.
It just from a social point,
Mm-hmm.
And I had ended up moving back home for a while after I recorded that record, and that was kind of the plan anyway. After I figured out, when I got down there and I figured out what type of environment I was in,
Mm-hmm.
was not what I was looking for. I was looking for less of a party environment and more of a serious, I want to be a badass musician environment.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I fell into Divine Empire, because that basically is in cold blood without Phil.
Right.
Right. So, JP had come up.
Is
Myrtle Beach.
JP on? Is JP on?
He's on in Cold Blood.
Okay,
yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Jason Hagen wrote a few of the songs.
Okay.
That ended up on there, but he opted out. He didn't like the party atmosphere so much either, and I was like, I'm just going to stick it out, and so he took off. We got JP in the band, and JP's a great player, and he just basically was helping us out during that point, and he wasn't really into any of the party environment so much either. So, I had left and moved back home. JP had met some girl somewhere and decided he wanted to bring her on vacation to Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
So he come up and stayed with me a couple of days, over a couple weekends maybe, and we started playing, and I had a little recording set up, and we started recording some songs, and I guess when he came back to Florida, he played them for Jay, and Jay was like, oh, dude, yeah, we got to call it Divine Empire, and dude, we're going to go on, I'll get us a record deal, blah, blah, blah,
wow.
And it just JP
happened.
was like, hey, man, Jay got us signed, and you want to come down here and write some more songs, put out a record? I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not?
Well, then
so that's how that started.
Well, then you did go out on the road, because I saw you guys open for Emperor on that giant tour you guys did.
Yeah, we did a couple of really good ones, actually.
That was an amazing
went
tour.
Went out with Vader and Cryptopsy and Goreguts, too.
Oh, wow.
That was cool. Then that was Emperor and Witchery, I think, and Bartnagar, maybe.
Yep.
I don't remember.
Yep, that's right. And that Peccatum thing he had with his wife or whatever. Peccatum.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Which was much better live, I thought, than on record. The record was kind of weird, but live it was a little cooler.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, right?
When I remember hearing you, it was the first time me seeing you live. And again, I'm a drummer, and or at least aspiring one at the time. And I was just blown away by how fast you were. And, it was just so precise, and everything was so, and you had this fan on you, and then your hair was just, this fan was like like
we
blow
use
you
those
away.
industrial fans.
Yeah.
It's hot.
It was super insane fan. I remember that, and you were just, making sure the hair was out of your face, dodging the hair so it would go to the side or behind you, and you were just flying.
Yeah, fun days.
Yeah, super brutal though. And I picked up the record that day. This is, I think I probably have it signed by you guys somewhere in here. I would imagine.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, it's from
Where'd
that show. That's when I'm in Ohio. We're in Cleveland, so it was at this weird little club, kind of in podunk nowhere, the Flying Machine in Lorain.
The Flying Machine.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Divine Empire did. Well, you weren't on the second record, or did you do both with them?
No.
Okay.
Wasn't on the second one.
Okay.
Just did the first one. Alex did the second one.
Oh, okay.
It just got. Jay was. He was a partier guy, and then he wasn't, and then he was, and he wasn't. And what was happening was when we'd go on tour, he'd start partying and he'd get out of hand.
Yeah.
And again, I was gonna opt out of it, and then my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, she was like, "Look, don't quit. You signed a contract. Like, just make them kick you out. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I just basically, just became uninterested, and and then finally it got to the point where, Jay was like, man, I don't think it's working, whatever. I think we want to get Alex in. I was like, okay, good, thanks.
Yeah.
And right around that time, I had met Eric, and we started talking, and I was like, now here's somebody that's playing music for the same reason I am.
Yeah.
To be kick-ass and to be the baddest and the, whatever it was that we were trying to do.
Right.
I identified with Eric on that level, so
yeah, he seems pretty intense.
That's why that happened. Yeah.
Well,
dude, the three of us, man, between Jared and Eric and me, man, I don't think there'll ever be another band like that. I really don't.
Insane, especially as a three-piece. But before we even get into the Hate Eternal, I don't want to skip Aurora Borealis, because I wasn't even aware that you had worked with them. They're kind of a band that goes under the radar, like not, like I see the album covers, I see the logos, I'm like, definitely seen that a million times, but for whatever reason it went under my radar and never had checked it out back in the day. So
well, it's just Ron.
Okay.
And he never really had like a record deal per se.
Okay.
I mean, maybe in Europe, somebody put it out, some little small record, but he always was like a do-it-yourself, DIY kind of guy. So that's probably why, you went under the radar. It's kind of like Serpents, we're a DIY kind of band. We fly under the radar, and we like that.
Yeah.
It's at least we know the people listening to us are listening to us because they actually genuinely sought it out.
Right.
He's kind of the same way, So we played. Okay, so going back to the schizophrenic guy in Atlanta.
Yeah.
In the early '90s, that's where I met Ron.
Oh wow.
He was playing with me with Joe in that band, Gothic Outcast.
Okay.
And he was going to Atlanta Institute of Music at the time.
Ah, interesting.
And we reconnected after In Cold Blood.
Okay.
When I moved home, and he had asked me if I wanted to play on his record. Like Tony Laureano had done the first one.
Oh, okay. Another monster, yeah.
And so, oh yeah, Tony's crazy.
Monster.
And then, from there, I just developed a really good friendship with Ron. We've been friends ever since, And
okay, so that time that you recorded a couple records with Aurora, but you started before even Divine Empire, is that correct? Because it seemed like around the same time.
Yeah, even before Malevolent. I mean, like as far as playing with Ron, and knowing Ron, but that was right after I recorded In Cold Blood. I had just moved home, and he had gotten in touch with me, and then him and Jason, the bass player that he was playing with at the time, they drove down from Maryland to Myrtle Beach, and we rehearsed all of that stuff for Praise and Archaic Lights Embrace, which was the second record, first one I played on.
Right.
And we rehearsed all of that stuff, and then we went to Bob's at Sound Lab in Columbia, South Carolina, and recorded it.
Nice. I was doing my research, and it's funny to see how much is intertwining, between worlds here. So was Council of the Fallen always something that you wanted to continue doing, and then did the Nile thing kind of come in and take precedent when they needed you for that?
No, it was Council was just like a Kevin had he had a real job, and he made real money, and he only worked seasonal. So during the summer, like he would go to Egypt or China or Japan, or he made good money as young as he was. He was like a regional supervisor for one of these beachwear places, like in Myrtle Beach, like Wings or Eagles, if you've ever seen those type of places at the beach or whatever. So he was like, a regional manager. So he made good money, and I guess after he had made enough money and stocked away enough, he decided that he was going to try to come to Florida and find a band, like make a band and try to do the whole thing. So
nice.
I hooked him up with Steve.
Okay.
'Cause I was running sound for Deicide at the time, and I was like, yeah, you should play with Steve. Like, move to the Tampa area. And I was, involved with Divine and just starting to get involved with Eric too.
Okay.
So that, it was kind of off my radar at that point. I kind of wanted to focus on the Hate Eternal thing.
Right. And so obviously Eric.
So yeah, that's how that happened.
All right. Well, obviously Eric used Tim on the first album, but were you ever in talks before that, or you didn't even enter?
No.
Okay.
No, we had only met like briefly, a couple times that Morbid was on tour, and I happened to be hanging around or whatever,
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know how. I don't even know how I got his number, or how that even happened, or why I even called him. To be honest, I don't. I think I was just so fed up with, because Jay was at the point. That was another reason I was getting kind of tired of Divine, and because it's like I just wanted to play faster and more ridiculous stuff, and Jay was like, man, I just want to lay back and play groove and stuff. And I'm like, no, I get it, that's fine, but I want to haul ass. I can do it, and there are not too many guys doing it this way, and that's what I want to do.
Sure.
So when I met Eric, he had that same kind of like, it was either like blast beats or double bass, and that's it. No anything else. So I was like, deal.
Well, why did Tim even leave?
He had already put Conquering the Throne had already come out.
Right.
Actually, now I know. Nick Barker told me.
Oh.
I remember Nick called me at home. He would say, "Bro, have you heard the Hate Eternal record, Eric's, other thing?" I'll say, "No, I remember the demo." I said, "But I haven't heard the record yet." He's like, "Bro, you got to check it out." So I checked it out. He's like, "I heard he's looking for a drummer. I think that guy Tim that recorded it's not gonna go on tour or something." I was like,
"Okay,
okay." That's how it started.
Interesting. Yeah, I wondered why Tim didn't last, and that was kind of his first record that people started recognizing that name. Because before that, he was
Tim's young. At that point, he was young.
Yeah, he was pretty young.
Like 18 or something when he was 19 when he recorded that. So, and it just, I think he had a pretty decent, like strong family ties in Rochester and stuff. So, I think it was just one of those things. He just wasn't ready.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you came in, and that was kind of your life for a while. Yeah.
I did the first tour. With Cannibal. And,
I saw you guys on that tour. Yeah,
I can't remember. Diabolic and somebody.
God Dethroned. That's right. Diabolic, God Dethroned, Hate Eternal, and Cannibal. That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wild tour.
Yeah, that's what I remember about that. I mean, I did tour after tour after tour with Hate Eternal, and that was fun. Just playing with like-minded musicians. And we were just set to conquer. That's all we wanted. We wanted to play, and I remember the three of us sitting around, and I remember saying to Eric and Jared, like, bro, if my objective with this at the end of the day is if people can make it through 3 songs of this shit, God bless them. I mean, you know what I mean?
It's
like
intense,
we were just trying to make it so absurd,
so
and
intense,
but still have songs.
Sure.
And not just be like Napalm Death and like unlegible, but still have songs. Mm-hmm. And we somehow or another, especially live, it was hands down we captured it. We just became different people, when we were on stage together for some reason.
It was furious, yeah.
And then we were able to capture it with King of All Kings. That was crazy, that record was literally written and recorded in 2 weekends.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, Derek and Jared were both on tour with Morbid Angel. And they were on tour with Pantera, if you remember.
I do remember that tour. That was the Revolution, or the whatever.
Well, it was a couple of tours, and like that record, like in between, there was like three weeks or 4 weeks maybe in between those tours.
Okay.
And I had driven over, and like the first couple times I had come over to record, like the studio, it was just riddled with issues. Bad cables, ADATs not syncing up. Channels dying. It was just riddled with crap, one thing after another. So by the time we actually got around to getting the drums tracked, and writing the music, or whatnot, we were all highly frustrated as well, And Eric wasn't thinking we were actually going to be able to get it recorded before they had to leave, for the Pantera tour. So it was really rushed, but we were able to capture something for sure.
Yeah, there's some killer songs.
Something beyond the music.
Yeah. I like that album, but I can't deny that I Monarch is probably my favorite Hate Eternal for a number of reasons.
Too.
For a number of reasons.
Yeah, mine too.
You have to
Give me your reasons.
Well, being a drummer, you did that wild shit with the snare on your foot and doing the blast. But when you I don't even remember where I read that or saw that before the album came out. But I remember watching the documentary of you guys kind of filming a little bit of the making as well. So I was watching those at the time. But when you said that, I'm like, this is revolutionary. Like, he's got his hands, he can do anything he wants with them, and he's doing all the blasting with his feet. I'm like, this is insane. So like, you were really pushing the boundaries, not only as a drummer, not only as a death metal musician, but as a drummer, period. Because That had never been done, I don't think, on a record, like ever, unless you're talking about some kind of clave on your left foot. But to have a snare and actually
or somebody
blast
outside of metal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But not in metal. And so I was like, man, Derek's taking it to another level. Like, this is out of control.
Here's the thing about that. I was doing that stuff on tour for King of All Kings. The problem was that record was written and recorded so fast that all of the ideas that I had that I played live, like In Spirit, for example, had a lot of that stuff, multi-pedal and snare over here with a rock beat on top of it. And it was all kind of, and if you go back and watch videos of me playing stuff off of King of All Kings, the drum parts are completely evolved into what they basically evolved into on iMonarch.
Ah, interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just didn't have time to be able to internalize the stuff and get the muscle memory good enough to record it,
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
in such a short time period. But if you go back and watch live stuff, especially songs like In Spirit, what's some of the other ones on there? Anyway, I've always been bad with song titles, but yeah, go back and watch some of that stuff. So that's where my influences of other music, other drummers and things started to creep in, you know, and I put my foot down on iMonarch because in between, right after King of All Kings, right before we recorded King of All Kings, I did Black Seeds.
Oh, right. Yeah, we kind of skipped over that. Yeah.
That came first. Yeah.
Okay.
I was playing with Eric and we were writing songs, and during the middle of that's when Pete called me and said, dude, I need you. Sorry, I've been sick last couple of days.
You're good. So he had some injury, correct? Was some kind of leg injury, or?
It was a shoulder thing. His shoulder was giving him issues, but you know, I drove up there and started listening to that stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know if I could even play this, much less Pete, you know. And I love Pete's playing. He's one of my favorite drummers.
Okay.
You know? I mean, I love that first, to me, Nile's first record, and I hate to be that guy.
I love that record.
You know what I mean? But to me, the only Nile record is the first one.
Yeah. I love it. I even had the demos.
I mean,
so I had the demos at the time.
Yeah, I think Pete's drumming, once you took that away from Nile, like the whole identity of that band, again, it was just gone.
Yeah.
You know? And I love Nile. I like Carl. These guys have been friends of mine forever, but it seems like they've released the same record like
over and
half
over
a dozen times now.
Yeah, that first one sticks with me as well.
So anyway, so I came in, I started listening to it, and basically Dallas sat on a bar stool, and we mic'd the kit. Dallas sat on a bar stool in front of me and said, all right, here's first riff. And I would be like, okay, but just show me up until, you know, whatever. And I would make mental notes. I was writing stuff down, like, okay, blast 4 times, tom roll, 16 measures. 16 measures, all right. You know, like just whatever, you know. And then I would go and I would just fly through it, and then he'd be like, all right, here's the next part. You know, and that was done. I was telling Craig earlier, it's like we did all of that without a click.
Crazy.
We basically had, after I realized what was going on, that they're going to piece all this together, after about maybe the 5th or 6th segment, I looked at Carl and Dallas. I was like, how are you guys going to tempo this? Like, I don't know what I'm playing. You guys know these songs, and, you know, and Dallas is just free, you know, like here's the riff, and we play at that tempo, you know. So I asked Bob, I was like, man, is there any way you could at least give me like an 8 count,
like,
you know, into what we're doing at the tempo that we're supposed to be at, so I know that it's consistent from punch to punch.
Right.
Because like I said, none of the rest of it was just me and Dallas like playing the riff.
Yeah.
You know, and then they had to go back and track over me.
Okay.
So that's, I mean, you know, we rounded that out in about 17 hours, I think. I literally drove to South Carolina after Pete. And that was funny too. I was like, well, when do you need me to be there? He's like, can you be here tomorrow? It's like, well, dude, we've already eaten up 2 weeks worth of studio time. I can't play this shit.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, all right. And he blamed it on his shoulder. But so, yeah, anyway, I put my drums in my car. I literally drove up there, set up after a 9-hour drive, went to my buddy's house, went to sleep, got up, came there the next morning, and we started busting it out. And I think we recorded 8 hours the first day, and then maybe 6 hours the next, something like that. It ended up being like 17 hours total, I think.
That's crazy.
That we did Black Seeds.
I'm going to go back to iMonarch because I think it was kind of a monumental record, not only for Hate Eternal, but
Well,
probably...
look, that's where I put my foot down.
Yeah.
Because I got so tired, like everything. That's why I brought Black Seeds up, because everything that I had done up until that point, that stuff was written and recorded like within just a couple of months. I mean, in cold blood. The Divine stuff was a little better. I moved down and we kind of structured and wrote those songs over a couple month period. But then we recorded them, you know. So it was, and then, you know, the Council, the Aurora, all of that stuff. I just learn it and record it.
Right.
King of All Kings, Black Seeds, literally just like right on the spot doing this stuff, right?
Yep.
And I was just so tired of it, man. By the time I went out on tour and we were playing those King of All Kings songs, and I was thinking to myself, man, these drum parts could have been so much better, man. Like, there could have been so much cool stuff going on. And then, again, Eric started with, whoa, Eric, you know, we got to get this out, blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, no, I'm not doing this. We are not going to rush this, and we are not going to let this happen. So we actually did a pre-production of I Monarch.
Okay.
So I have that we recorded here. And I still have that.
Wow.
Like, all of those songs, like, you know, just a different recording of all of them.
That's
no
awesome.
vocals. I think Eric actually went back and did put vocals over them, so I knew where the vocal lines were.
Right.
That was another thing, because all of these records, I never knew where the vocals were going to be, so I never knew what to play, where, you know?
Right.
And then I get out live, and I'm like, oh, I can play this cool splash line with the vocals now.
Right.
And I'm not stepping on his toes or overplay, you know what I mean? Like.
Yep.
So I put my foot down. I was like, no, this is not happening this time. Which is why I think that record came out the way it did, you know.
Well, on every level, I think
it was pretty monumental in the writing department for us, for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say not only that, so maybe it was a lot of you just putting on the brakes and saying, hey guys, like let's like really dive into this together as a group, as a unit,
right,
and get everything we want to be, this record to be. But it also it ended up sounding the best. Like, you could tell everything's like natural, but it's still like the production's still super in your face. I mean, the drums sound incredible. Just if you looked at King of All Kings compared to I Monarch, just from a production value standpoint, to me it's night and day. King of All Kings came out a little weak to me, as far as like the songs might have been there and this and that, but like production wise, it fell flat.
I hated it. And you know what? Eric and I fought on this, man. I would go over and I would get my drums sounding the way I wanted them, and like the cymbals specifically were very important. And every time I would come back to hear what Eric had done, he had like the drums like so overbearing and the cymbal so buried, like you can't hear any of the cymbal work on King of All Kings.
Right.
And I was like, what are you? The drums were all gated too tight. You could hear the gates opening and closing. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, it sounds like crap. Can you just please leave it the way I left it? You know? And I understand if you got to tweak something to make it work in the mix. I totally get that. But like, you're doing a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff that's making the thing sound muddy. It's like, I don't understand, you know. Anyway, but again, rushed. They were going out on tour. It had to get done. It's got to get done. Blah, blah, you know?
Yep.
It's like, this is going to live forever, man. Like, your stupid tour is going to be over in 3 weeks. You know, like. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I Monarch was all about that, and that I Monarch was actually done on a 2-inch tape machine.
Oh, cool. I guess I Monarch was kind of the, what do you call that? The curtain call, your grand moment, and then kind of started falling apart there, huh?
Well, you know, it's like, you know, again, I don't do these things to, you know, talk any kind of shit about anybody or whatever, you know, and it's like, Eric's cool, you know, and whatever. Just it's unfortunate that, you know, shit went down the way it went down, you know, but I understand that music, well, I wouldn't even say that. I understand that this lifestyle is very important to people, right? And sometimes maintaining that lifestyle is more important than friendships, you know, or partnerships, or, you know, growing as a person, or whatever it happens to be. You know? And we just grew apart, you know.
I see it happen all too much.
Yeah, you know, and it's like there's only, I mean, look, and it never was really about money per se. It ended up kind of being that, you know, what people thought at least. You know? It never really was about that. It was just a string of bad decisions after another, you know, like as on a band level.
Right.
You know, just bad decision after bad decision, and I never felt like that. He would listen, but it was like in one ear and out the other.
Right.
You know, it was always a thing of like, I know best. I've been in Morbid Angel.
Sure.
Which at the end of the day is a very small band.
Right.
You know?
Well, right. Yeah.
It's just a damn death metal band.
Right. Right.
And you know, my father, and not tooting my own horn, but I actually grew up and my father had a Billboard hit when I was a kid on the country charts.
Oh wow.
You know, so you know, I grew up in recording studios watching my dad. I knew all about the industry on a real level.
Crazy.
You know, on like a gold record level.
Wow.
You know, and that's what I brought to the table.
Yeah.
You know, but nobody would ever listen to me. And
Sure.
as far as that's concerned, so that's why I just got sick of it. And then you know, on top of that, I'm watching the industry crumble around us. You know.
Yeah. Right at that time, really.
You know,
Yeah.
It was just, yeah, and it was just one. You know, loss after another, just doing tours and things not being as successful as they could have been if we would have just made better decisions, and you know, just that kind of stuff, you know. And I got to the point where I just got tired of getting by. I wanted to get ahead in life instead of just getting by.
Right.
So that was the biggest differential, you know, that we had, and it was just, we just grew apart. That's all.
This opens up into your thing, Serpents Rise, man. And it's funny because the Serpents Rise stuff, you know, I guess I started seeing the name Serpent Rise, or even on like, I don't know, when you'd be credited on something, Derek Roddy of Serpents Rise. I'm like, what is this Serpents Rise? Why? You know, I should know about this. I've been following Derek Roddy for, you know, almost 15, 20 years now. Like, why? Or, you know, 15. So why am I not finding this? Why am I not hearing this? And like you said, you know, it was kind of intended to be your own thing in DIY and whatnot. But as a fan, I was like, I got to hear this. Where can I get this? So then coming to find it and listening to it and really enjoying all the stuff you were putting together. And obviously this is kind of your baby now, and this is your passion. So, yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about that, that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, those first songs were like leftover stuff from Hate Eternal, really. I mean, I was writing a lot and just wanted to get songs, you know, on some of the Hate Eternal stuff. But, you know, again, you know, so I ended up just keeping that stuff and just demoing it all out myself, and started looking for some people to play with. And just, man, it was so hard to find people that we just could obligate to becoming killer, you know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't asking for much, just, you know, come here a couple times a week for an hour or two and let's shred through some stuff and be serious about it and not drunk, and I don't have to go pick you up because you don't have a car,
Right,
or
right.
I got to buy you dinner because you don't have money, you know, like it's always something, man.
I know,
always.
man. Yep.
So that's what just prompted me I just started doing it myself,
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't do it. Like at that point in time, I was done with the metal world, man. I wanted nothing to do with it, to be completely honest. I didn't do Serpents Rise to get signed and to put it out in the metal world. I did Serpents Rise so I could have heavy music without somebody yelling at people on my instructional and educational things, to be able to educate people about blast beat drumming without offending them with vocals and pointy letters. You know, so because literally I had presidents of drum corporations tell me that the reason they've never supported, you know, death metal guys is they don't want to be associated with the image of it.
Right. Makes sense.
You know, and when I came along, you know, wearing collared shirts and could speak without using "fuck" as a comma, you know, that appealed to these people. You know, and they were like, oh well, here's a guy that here's a whole untapped market. So that's how that happened for me. So I was so focused on that at the time. And I said, well, I guess I just got to do all of this myself, or else I'm not going to have music to play to at these clinics that I'm getting asked to do all the time.
Right,
you know?
right.
So, yeah, like I said, like 4 or 5 of those songs were stuff that I had written for Hate Eternal, either for King of All Kings or I Monarch, that Eric didn't feel like, you know, I guess the pennies that would have taken out of his royalty,
Right, whatever,
was more important than expression as a band. So
Sure.
I was like, whatever, I'll keep it for my stuff. So that's how it started.
Cool.
And just not being able to find people, and just led me to being like, well, I'll just record everything myself and get it done. And I never wanted that.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I did Serpents Rise 2 is because I had already done one DVD and had the book out that had play-alongs that had Serpents Rise songs. And then I was putting out another DVD, and I was like, well, I need new music.
Right.
So again, I start looking for people, and just like dominoes, just people just dropping all over the place. I'd have guys that would come here and they'd spend 3 months here, and we start sounding really good, and then I never hear from them again.
So weird.
And dude, I'm like the least demanding guy to play with. I just want you to come in here and be you.
Right.
I'm not going to tell anybody how to play anything. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life or how to do anything. The only thing I expect is just have a job, have some money, and have some belief in yourself. And it's amazing to me to watch, to play with people finally after all this time, that I stopped putting worry into how good they are or how, because people can get better. And when you play together a lot, you get better quick.
Sure.
And like these guys I'm playing with now, I mean, they're the best. At this point, they've turned into the best players that I've ever been in a band with, just right before my eyes. And
That's
man,
awesome.
that is so cool to witness, man.
It's really cool.
Damn. Instead of trying to find the best guitar player in town, and dealing with their attitudes and shit, I found the coolest people.
Right.
And it worked out. It took me 8 years or so, but now I have the band of my dreams now.
Well, that's all I really got for you, Derek. I think we went through it all.
Did you lose me?
Yeah, completely.